Hair.biz features Monate hair care products. Samples and business opportunities are available at getgreathair.biz. Wednesday weather forecast, mostly cloudy with occasional showers today, the high about 60 to 65. Chance of showers overnight, mostly cloudy skies, temperatures near 60. And the chance of showers will continue Thursday and Friday, maybe a few thunderstorms. And the temperature Thursday and Friday with mostly cloudy skies in the low to mid-70s. Your life, your music, we're KLEK 102.5 FM.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. The main suspect in Tuesday's New York truck attack says he was targeting Halloween celebrations and wanted to kill as many as possible. Sacked members of Catalonia's regional government are due at Spain's High Court to face rebellion charges. Around 600 asylum seekers are refusing to leave an Australian detention centre in Papua New Guinea 2 days after it was officially closed. And UK Prime Minister Theresa May is choosing a new Defence Secretary.
It's 9:01.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
Good morning, everyone out there, and happy Thursday to you. It is still a little wet outside, but I'm glad it's not as cool as it was yesterday. I hope that you're having a great start to your day. You're tuned in to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. I'm your host, Quabila Harden, and my special guest today is Dr. Christine Wright from Arkansas State University. She is with the Occupational Therapy Program in the nursing department. So, good morning to you, Doctor.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here.
All right. And so today we're going to be talking all about the Occupational Therapy Program, what's possible, what services are available to individuals, and anything else we can come up with in between. So, but before we get started, I would like for Dr. Christine to please give us some introduction to herself and, tell us, where did you come from before you got to Arkansas State University?
All right. Well, before I arrived in July, the last year I spent in Dallas starting an occupational therapy assistant program. And then the previous almost decade, I was at LSU Health Science Center in Shreveport, Louisiana, and that's a medical campus. It's an offshoot of the larger campus in Baton Rouge. They also have a medical campus in New Orleans, and I was a faculty member there. I've been an occupational therapist for 25 years, and I've been in higher education for 15.
Oh, wow.
And I was very excited to take this position and take the program and keep moving it forward. So very exciting to be here.
That is wonderful. And so, how was the transition? Did you get a chance to meet the previous director?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. I came in after she left. So, and I just took off from there because we just had our accreditation visit for our doctoral program a month ago. So my focus was, let's get ready for that, so that we can make sure our doctoral program is accredited. And I'm happy to say that we did very, very well. We will receive our final letter in January because the accreditation body meets in December.
Okay.
And so both of our programs, we'll talk about that today. We have an occupational therapy assistant program and an occupational therapy doctoral program, and both of them will be accredited by January 1. The OTA program is already accredited, and then we'll receive our letter in January. So very exciting right now.
That is amazing. And I know that the OT program is fairly new at Arkansas State compared to other courses. When will the first round of graduates graduate?
Oh, very good question. So in the occupational therapy assistant program, we've already had 2 graduating classes.
Oh.
They spend 1 year with us. They come in with prerequisites and then spend a year. So August to August, we will graduate our 3rd class this August, and exciting, we will graduate our first doctoral class this August. It's a 3-year program, and so our rising 3rd years are still out on their 1 clinical rotation, and then they're going to come back and spend from January to August or their third year with us, finishing out the program. So it's very exciting that we're getting ready to graduate that first class of doctoral students.
All right, so let everyone out there know that maybe not be familiar with occupational therapy. Some people may think that the terms occupational and physical therapy are interlinked, but they're actually quite different.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. I tell people that we all work together in rehab or in the hospital or private clinics, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech and communication disorders or speech therapy, but we all come from different angles. We come from different backgrounds. Some people think that occupational therapy is like physical therapy, but we're quite different. Some people also think that like occupational therapists work on your arms and physical therapists work on your legs, and to some extent that can happen. But the whole thing to remember about occupational therapy is that everything you do every day is an occupation. It's not just about work. It's about your daily activities, things like getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth, remembering to cook yourself breakfast, being able to prepare the breakfast, being able to drive your car to work, being able to actually perform your job. So if you have an illness or an injury, or perhaps if we're talking about children, they were born with something that may prevent them from doing their daily occupations, we go in and help figure out how to do those things despite what's happened to people, because at the end of the day, we don't have the power to fix or cure things. Some things are able to be fixed, but a lot of it we have to adapt to the circumstances, and that's the beauty of the profession.
Okay, well, thank you. Now, during your time as an educator, you have also conducted many seminars and you've been a part of many publications. I was looking through your curriculum vitae.
Yep.
I hope I said that right.
Yes.
And you have a long list of accomplishments. You have done so many wonderful things. So can you tell us give us some insight into some of the things that you've done and some strides that you have made in this field, in the occupational therapy field?
But thank you. Yes. I think several things. I have been an educator, like I said, for 15 years, so I'm very interested in how we educate our students. So I have published what we call a pedagogy, and pedagogy just means the art and science of teaching. But I did publish that as an overall look at what we're expecting from our students by the time they finish in an occupational therapy program, and anybody can go and read that article. It's actually in the Open Journal of Occupational Therapy, and that's out there. And then a second thing that I'm very proud of doing is I was invited by a consulting firm in Shreveport to write a curriculum to teach healthcare practitioners how to work with people with dementia better. And so I wrote a curriculum, and I actually would do live lectures and live workshops to go down and help people, and that included from the person that answered the phone in a long-term care facility, usually known as a nursing home, all the way to the administrator. It was actually Louisiana law that everybody received annual training at different levels, and so I called it my Four Corners tour of Louisiana. I went all over Louisiana to all different types of facilities, from small rural towns to larger cities, and worked with individuals to help their residents have the best quality of life they could despite the fact that they had dementia. And that was very exciting. I really enjoyed that. In fact, I would like to figure out, I've only been here a few months, but I'd like to continue that here in the Jonesboro area.
And I think it is much needed. Now, can you help me understand, is dementia and Alzheimer's same or different?
Good question. So dementia is what I call the larger umbrella category. There are multiple diseases that are dementia. Alzheimer's happens to be the one that most people have.
Okay.
There are different types, and so we're most familiar with Alzheimer's, and people sometimes use those terms as the same, but dementia is the large category, and then Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. But there are other types that people can have, some related to long-term hypertension. As you age, your vessels in your brain can weaken and create issues. There's another type of dementia called Lewy body dementia. People with Parkinson's disease sometimes develop dementia. So they're all different types, but Alzheimer's is what we know the best. It is the most prevalent.
Okay, so under occupational therapy, do you work with individuals? Well, sounds stupid, but do you work closely with individuals with Alzheimer's as well?
Yes.
Okay, and
Yes.
Many may not know that November is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, along with many
All
other
right.
health and social issues. And I have personally witnessed the effects of it on a family member, and there are many other people that have family members dealing with these issues now. So one thing I would like to encourage is get to know what type of issue it is that falls under dementia that your family member has, so that you can educate yourself and learn more how to deal with them, with the person that has it, and help them work through their life.
Absolutely. And one thing I encourage everybody to remember is that the disease is creating the behaviors that happen, and it's not the person. It is the disease. It's the changes in the brain that create the problems with dementia. So even when all caregivers, no matter if you're professionally paid or at home, can get frustrated, it's a long process. It's a hard work.
Okay.
So if we can always keep in mind that it's the disease speaking, it's not the person when some of these behaviors happen, and it's hard to remember that in the middle of things, but that's what I always taught in people, is that it is the changes in the brain, and if people can remember that, sometimes it's easier.
Okay. Alrighty, so let's switch that and apply that to other individuals that they don't have dementia, but their body is still not connecting fully with their mind due to maybe an injury or birth defect or something of that nature. So help us understand how you work with people that have issues and how to help them get back to some quote-unquote normalcy of life.
Indeed, great answer. My first job was actually working in a coma stimulation unit where young people especially, came in from car accidents and other things, and they would come in a coma, and we would work with them actually from the time they came in till the time they came out of their coma, and then we would work with them, but it's not like the movies where their eyes open and they're suddenly back to quote normal. Normal is a spectrum. It takes a long time, and what happens, of course, when the brain there is a disconnect between the body and the mind. Also, the way people maybe problem solve, the way they're able, simple things like making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It takes about 4 or 5 steps, but when your brain has been kind of changed, it's very difficult sometimes for people to understand how that process would work, that I would take the bread and then take a knife and spread the peanut butter and spread the jelly and put the bread on top. So they'd often make what we call cognitive errors or thinking errors. They put 2 bread together and then the jelly and then maybe put the peanut butter on the plate because their mind can't remember how to do that. So we work with them on basic things like that, to what would it take to be able to take care of yourself. And even if they have family support for bigger things, or let's say I have an adolescent, they're going to need to go back to school. They're going to need to go on with their life, maybe be able to live independently. One of the fears of many parents is what happens when I get older or I'm gone, what's going to happen to my child. So we have to try to work to help them be independent. So it's sometimes what people consider simple tasks are very complex when you break them down. Even things like brushing your teeth. I had people that, dressing themselves, and they would try to put their pants on their head because they didn't understand the concept of pants. And that's hard for people to understand because you've been dressing yourself for decades, right?
Yes.
So it's really hard, and that's why occupational therapy sometimes is confusing, is that because we're so good at breaking down basic tasks into their little pieces to help people get better, and that's hard to explain sometimes.
Okay. And as you were talking about helping individuals do what some people may consider simple tasks, it brought to mind individuals that suffer from strokes.
Yes, ma'am.
There's been a lot of research done on the effect a stroke has on the brain. And again, I have witnessed firsthand that effect. My mother had a stroke, and she was one of those that put her shirt on inside out or backward.
Yes.
Or, there were things that she knew she wanted to do, and she really tried, but unfortunately, there was a disconnect.
Yep.
So have you worked personally or closely with individuals that have suffered strokes?
Yes, I have. And it's, again, anytime the brain is injured, your brain is made up of all these fun things called neurons, and they're the communicators, right? Okay. So if you think about a telephone, telephone poles communicate between each other to send the message. So if you've had something like a stroke or brain injury, it cuts the wire, right? Okay. That communicates to the next neuron that tells you what to do and continues on. So you have, oftentimes with a stroke, depending on the type, but you have this area of the brain that's been damaged. And so unfortunately, I wish I had x-ray vision. Somebody always asks, if you had a superpower, what would it be? And for me as an OT, it'd be x-ray vision. So I could go in and look at the brain and actually see exactly what part has been damaged. But what we do is we target our therapy based on the behavior. So if your mom was putting on her shirt backwards, that would tell me that she's not able to conceptualize front to back, side to side, in and out. And so we would work with her on that. And ultimately, what we try to do over time is allow, by practicing what we know now with the brain, is if you practice the same thing over and over and over again, those neurons start to heal and start to reconnect the wires to send the signal. Now, not all of them may be able to be repaired, but quite a lot of them. So therapy is a long-term process often with these types of injuries or illnesses because it takes a long time for the brain to heal.
Okay. And I'm looking at some information on the Arkansas State University's website, and it says that occupational therapy is one of the most in-demand professions in the U.S. and internationally. What would you say contributes to its demand?
Two things, I think. One, I think that society in general is really starting to understand what occupational therapy does, and so is the medical community. There have been several studies that have been done that demonstrate that occupational therapy is one of the most cost-saving therapies for rehabilitation in a hospital, because we teach people how to do their basic stuff so that at home they don't re-injure themselves.
Okay.
And I also we have a lot of support in the healthcare industry for occupational therapy. But the other thing is just the great job that our national and state and local associations do getting out the word for occupational therapy and explaining what it is that we do and helping people understand that people want to get back to doing their life, what's meaningful to them. If you're a gardener and that's what you like to do and you can't do it, there's something missing in your life. So if you want to garden, guess what we're doing in therapy? We want to figure out how to garden. You want to play golf again? Guess what? I might have an indoor golfing activity for you to do, and we get you back out on the green inside the rehab hospital. If now not everybody can get back to everything, but we really try to focus on what's central to the person. And so it's not procedural per se that we can give something and then it's all better. It's a long-term process, but I think it's it's become more popular and more understood, and more people see the value in it.
Do you feel that the attitude of the patient contributes to this overall success of treatment?
Absolutely. Your attitude, your focus, your belief in that things will get better is essential. Well, there are studies after studies after studies that demonstrate your psychological outlook on life contributes to your health and well-being. And one of the things that OTs have to do a lot is be the demonstrator of the light at the end of the tunnel. It's hard when you're in an acute setting to see that it's going to get better. So our job is to demonstrate in small ways how you can be successful. We tell our students, make sure they have at least one success at every session so that they can start to see, your clients can start to see their progress.
Okay. All right, so we're going to get ready for a break here soon, but I want to let everyone know that they can go to the Arkansas State's website, astate.edu. In the search box, just type in occupational therapy, and there is a lot of information. It tells you what the degree program entails. Of course, there is contact information listed. It tells you about the program, getting into the program. I see that this says for 2019 cycle. So has the window already closed for the 2018?
No, ma'am. The 2018 cycle begins February. We are changing the entry level GPA starting in 2019. Okay. So to 3.0 for the doctoral. So, but the admissions process is beginning. For the applications are due February 1st.
February 1st. Okay. So if you're considering a career in occupational therapy, go to their website, call the phone number, and talk to someone. Just at least do a consultation with an advisor and see if this is the field for you, and get to know the ins and outs of this career. But we're going to get ready for a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about occupational therapy, where you can find them, and more of the things that they do with their patients. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back after these announcements.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
What do you do when your dream dies? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. You had aspirations of doing and being something in your life, but now your dream just isn't possible. Maybe an accident or illness took your dreams away. Maybe a divorce or financial problems killed your dream. Every day, people are forced to make a choice. Hang on to a dead dream or reach for a new one. So, how do you deal with the death of a dream? First, allow yourself to grieve. It's okay to feel badly or even terrible about your loss. Second, allow yourself to grow. Try new things, experience new hopes. Third, allow yourself to grab hold of the next dream. Don't spend all of your time focusing on what you've lost, or you'll miss what you can have. Remember, your family first.
For more resources on today's topic, go to markmerrill.com.
Family Minute is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a non-profit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook and KNOMEGA1908.com.
KLEK thanks CJ Pepper and the staff of Life Strategies Counseling Incorporated for helping people through hard times in life, such as depression, family issues, stress, abuse, and more. They offer counseling and therapy for all ages, individuals, families, and groups. They are located at 1217 Stone Street. Phone number 1-866-972-1268 or online at lscihelp.com. Meineke of Jonesboro is now Stark's Auto Service, a full-service auto repair and vehicle maintenance center, offering engine and transmission repair, brake service, tires, oil changes, and more, performed by ASE certified mechanics. The all-new Starks Auto Service, 2813 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro, 870-204-7112. Starks Auto Service, Jonesboro.com.
Did you know that KLEK 102.5 FM is a nonprofit organization? Did you know that you can donate to KLEK 102.5 FM and your donation is tax deductible? Donations to nonprofit organizations such as KLEK can reduce the amount of taxes you may owe the IRS or increase the amount of any potential tax refund. Support your KLEK today. You can donate by calling 870-277-1080, visiting our studio at 1411 Franklin Street in Jonesboro, or on our website, www.klekfm.org. We at KLEK 102.5 FM are blessed and grateful for your support. From the KLEK Community Calendar, Faith and Healing Outreach Ministries, Pastor and First Lady James Ministers presents Revival, November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 2017 at 7:30 p.m. nightly at the church located at 302 Steele Avenue in Jonesboro. The guest speaker will be Apostle Jesse Clark, Pastor and First Lady James Ministers.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
Oh, all right. Welcome back to Community Conversations. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize for the static. Oh, goodness. Oh. Okay. Sorry for the... Okay. Hopefully I get this figured out soon. I'm sorry. You're tuned into Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. I apologize for the static here. Get this figured out soon. I'm speaking with Dr. Christine Wright from Arkansas State University, and we're trying to have a conversation about occupational therapy, but I seem to have some buzzing in my line. Shoot. Oh, I apologize to everyone out there that's listening. I think it's getting better. Okay.
That's a little bit better, yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so let's get back into our conversation concerning occupational therapy. Where can these individuals be found? What type of facilities will you most likely see them in?
Great question. I like to say we can be found everywhere, and that's not really an untruth. But the majority of places that you see occupational therapists are in acute care hospitals like St. Bernard's and NEA, inside the hospital. You can see in freestanding rehab hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, independent outpatient clinics run by a person, the school system. We often work in school systems, private pediatric clinics. OTs could start their own clinic if need be, but we also work in interesting areas that people don't know about. For instance, forensic OT, where we work in prisons, where we work with individuals. They're getting ready to maybe be released, and they might not have the job skills, or they might not have the life skills to be successful when they leave prison. And so we work there. We work in oncology, working with people, even if they're terminal, what do they want to achieve in their life that's left? But also a lot of people are not terminal. They are able to survive their cancer, but they're left with this huge fatigue problem, or the side effects of chemotherapy can often affect the way people think in their brain. So we can work there. You can work for nonprofit organizations, helping them write grants, helping them work with individuals that can't have trouble functioning in a society. So we can help. We help with people who are homeless, who are trying to not be homeless. But what does it take for them to get off the streets and be able to manage their lives. So there are lots of different areas. And I say we work from birth all the way through the end of life. We work with every age group, and you can find us in a lot of places. But also, I say to my students every day, there are going to be jobs out there that I don't even know about because the world is changing so fast, and with technology, they're going to be able to do things that we just can't imagine right now.
Alrighty, so you mentioned homelessness, and the light bulb went on. Are you familiar with the facility called the Hub?
Yes, ma'am, and we are actually working on developing a project with them and having our doctoral students work with them and help them get every stuff off the ground, but also help them once they get their programs together. So we are actually out there right now with that group.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So I just want to give a shout out to everyone that works at the Hub.
Yeah.
They put in a lot of hours, selfless hours, working with individuals, trying to help them get back on their feet, and get back to some type of way of life that's, quote unquote normal. Getting back to a sustainable, helping them sustain their way of life by way of employment and housing, and then other resources they may need. So
exactly.
We're very grateful for that service here. Have you partnered? I know you've only been on the job a few months, but have you partnered with, or tried to help the students partner with other nonprofits in town?
I'm not sure about the nonprofit or a profit status, and before I go on, I have to give a giant shout out to the rest of the faculty, because I have to tell you, they are the brightest, most motivated and creative faculty I've ever worked with, and I am proud to be associated with them. And they're the ground force that's out there finding places for our doctoral students to go and be working with senior centers, working with the Hub, working with pediatric clinics. And again, because we're new, we're developing more and more and more connections. So I'm sure we are working with other nonprofits, and we just continue to grow, but they are, I like to say, I'm kind of holding the rudder, if you will, of the ship, but they are the ones that are out there doing it every day. And talk about putting in the long hours. It just really, I can't thank them enough about what they're doing. And that's the beauty of our doctoral program, is we are developing over time. And so it's a wonderful thing to be in on the beginning of something, to be able to help and develop and make an impact within the Jonesboro and greater Upper Delta region communities. That's just so exciting for us.
That's amazing. So have any of your students, I know that there is some rural area around Jonesboro. Do your students ever go back to maybe their hometown or somewhere that's rural, that's in need of the services versus just living right here in Jonesboro?
Yes, we have students from all over. In fact, as I've been working with the doctoral students, one of the things they have to complete is what we call a capstone project, and they direct their own learning for that with our guidance, and a lot of them want to go back to their local communities and do their project there and continue. Like, for instance, I was speaking about prisons. We had a young lady that wanted to go back to her hometown, and there was a women's and men's prison close by, and wanted to work in that area to try to help people re-engage with life when they are out of the prison system. Even if they are in it for a long time, still about those skills and things to have daily meaning is just, doesn't matter where you are, it's so important. So it's both in and out. And I have to tell you, the students and any faculty member you bring in here, I know it's going to just laud over their students, but our students, just all the students in the College of Nursing and Health Professions, they're so creative, they're so motivated to volunteer and help. And I sometimes have to say, now remember, you have to finish your studies. So love the volunteers. So they helping them balance that, but they are always out doing things. And across the greater ASTATE community, every day I go to the cafeteria for lunch and I see all these great student associations out there helping different groups, and I just find that wonderful. It's one of the wonderful things about working in a university community is seeing the young folks, young students just blossom. That's why I like academics, I think, and the things that they think about doing are just terrific. And sometimes it's not, you don't always see it. It's a subtle thing sometimes, but they really are a force to be reckoned with. I love it.
And I think there's kind of a wave of philanthropy, community service, volunteerism, kind of coming back around for, I guess, what we call millennials. But those that are in that under 30 but over 18 bracket, I am starting to see, like you said, more activism, more activity among them outside of themselves. They're starting to give back to the communities. Of course, not everyone. Some people still have that entitlement issues, but for the most part, I have also met some wonderful students from the philanthropy group at Arkansas State. I've met some others from Volunteer ASTATE and United Way ASTATE United Way, and so there are many students who are now seeing that this life is not about them, not just about them, it's about what you do for others in your time that you have, and they're taking every effort they can to give back. And so that is wonderful that the occupational therapist students are falling right in line with that as well.
Yeah, they sure are. I think as a generation, they look at, I don't just want to go to work. I want to make a difference. I want to make meaning, and that is going to change our workforce for the better long term.
So when you talk with your students concerning their particular career path, do you discuss, or do they discuss their goals, dreams, expectations? I know there is money to be made in any field, but we all know there are some fields that you're just going to hit a cap regardless. Right. So do you try to encourage them, no matter what the income bracket may be, dig deeper and figure out why you're really following this path?
Absolutely. And one of the joys I have as being a department chair is people call and want to have a meeting with me before they apply, and they want to talk about who they are. I want to know who they are. Okay. And one of the things I talk to them about is this is a helping profession, and you have to love it even on its worst day. Okay. Even when people are in pain, they're scared, they have had a life-altering event, and you have to love it. The money will never be enough, even if you got paid millions of dollars, which you don't as an OT, and that's okay. It's a great living. Don't get me wrong. It has a nice salary, but you can't do it for that, because you'll be miserable every day of your life if you're just waiting for a paycheck. You've got to love the human condition down to its bare bones. I mean, people have said ugly things to me out of pain, out of fear, and let it roll off of you, because it's really not directed at you. It's their only way of expressing their disappointment in what's happening to them. And if that's what they have to do, you just let it roll, and you say, now, what can I do to be the light for them? What can I do to show them a simple success today, to say, today is today, tomorrow is going to be even better. What can we do? And our families and our caregivers are often our clients as well. It's not just our client in front of us, but we have to look at how, if they leave the hospital, who's going to care for them? How are they going to manage? No one gets a manual when you're born that says, here's how you manage this event in life, or here's how you manage that event. I think if you talk to people who are parents, they would love to have a manual, right? And so, and so we have to support them in the way that they know how, and then provide them information along the way. And I say to also new people applying, I think every day about what I would what other job I'd rather do, and I can't think of one. And that's what I want them to know. And I want them to know the difference when they come to us between OT, PT, and speech, so they pick the right career for them. Because if you pick something else but you really wanted to be physical therapy or you want to be a nurse, you're never going to be happy in OT. You just aren't. So I try to help people understand really what OT is about. But I will say a lot of people come already knowing, and that's a great thing. They do their research.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
As you were talking about how the whole family or unit of people that are surrounding the patient are also your clients, do you put the students in scenarios before they even meet with the patient with a real issue? Do you have them go through scenarios of what could happen to kind of break them in?
Yes, and one of the great things about education is we call it we help people, and forgive this word, but we help people fail safely, right?
Okay.
So we help them try things in a safe environment where we can give feedback, right, and say, okay, now think about this and think about that. But they do go out to the clinic very quickly. Right now we have students out in here in Jonesboro, and also at a facility called the Chateau in Paragould, where they're working with older adults because they're in their adult learning, and they think about the faculty members go out with them. So they bring in things to do with the clients, and then they talk about if it was successful, or if there are things that they needed to fix or make better next time. What would those be? How is it working? What is the response you're getting from your client? So we really try to get them out there. We use case studies. You can use videos. We also do interprofessional. We're working right now with New York Institute of Technology, the Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine School. We're going to, in the spring, be doing another interprofessional case study where we bring all the professions together and how would they all work together as a team, because you can't do it by yourself. You've got to have everybody. And so that's the neat thing about having all these programs at ASTATE, is just you can get together and really learn how to work before you ever go out there. So very exciting stuff. You bet. We don't want our students to go out there and then feel like we've abandoned them. That's not, no, certainly not.
Alrighty. So I'll be interested to hear some of those conversations and of how those interactions went. Because I'm sure people that are going through, just like the orthopedics, they're having surgery for whatever reason. There are some limitations, and there will be days that they feel like, I don't want to go on, I don't want to do anything today. But in order, like you said, to keep those neurons and those different things in your brain growing back together and making connections again, you have to engage in repetitive behavior. Mm-hmm. So do you, though, for those patients that say, I don't want to do anything today, how do you encourage them, or how do you nudge, push, or whatever term you like to use, to say, okay, today is not a day, we cannot not do something today?
Well, there's no magic answer to that one. It's a tough one, I like to tell, folks, there's a lot of psychosocial that you have to use to continue to motivate individuals when they're in pain or they're scared. A lot of it is, if I move and do stuff with you, you're going to hurt me more. And so what we try to do is tell them, listen, staying in bed is the worst thing that you can do. You got to get up, you got to move. Yes, it's going to hurt, but that's going to go away. But if you stay in bed or stay in a chair, it's not going to go away. It's going to continue and may grow. What is it? Somebody said sitting is the new smoking. Staying in a seated position, even just at work and other things. You got to get up and walk around and move and keep those muscles and everything. So it's more about helping them say, yes, there may be some pain associated with it, but it will be much worse if we don't get going and do things. But you also have to make sure that whatever you're doing is meaningful to them, because people don't want to. They don't always, some do, but they don't always just want to go down and just do kind of the same activity day in and day out. They want to figure out, okay, but how is this going to be meaningful when I leave here? How is this going to help me get myself dressed or take myself to the bathroom or fix myself a snack when I'm at home. That's what we need to be doing and focusing on. And so you have to show them how it's going to transition to when they leave and go to wherever they're going next.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I've never had the opportunity to actually visit a rehab facility or, I've talked to a few people that have gone, but they have mainly gone for physical therapy due to injury, illness, surgery.
Right.
But I haven't had a chance to speak with anybody who actually, does occupational therapy. I would have loved to have seen it. I wish I had known more about these services when my mother was going through her stroke.
Yes.
But now that I know, I'm one of those people, now that I know, I encourage everyone, get educated. Educate yourself. There's no excuse. I'm sorry. There's no excuse not to know now. With the age of
That's right.
the technology we have today,
That's right.
you can Google like almost anything.
Exactly.
Or YouTube. Find a video on YouTube.
That's right.
For almost anything. So
That's right.
we have all these tools at our disposal. It's time to start helping individuals. There's no reason, unless they're just physically unable, but there's no reason individuals should not be afforded some opportunity to get back on their feet or get back to some way of life that once was.
That's right. And one of the other things that occupational therapy can do also is help the community understand how to be accessible to those that have limitations. So once we get people back out there, then if they can't get to their favorite restaurant or they can't get to the mall or they can't get to the grocery store, that's a difficulty. But I will say that I've driven around Jonesboro, and there are a lot of accessible places, and it's getting more accessible, but it's about educating individuals too about some and the thing is, a lot of things OTs can also do is help them make their business or whatever accessible, and it doesn't really cost a lot. So we try to be also mindful of the money.
All right, well let's touch on that a little bit more when we come back from break. You're tuned into Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, and I apologize for the humming earlier. Seems to have stopped now, so we pray that it continues to not be an issue when we come back. Don't go away. We'll be right back after these announcements.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. If you're a newlywed, the IRS has a few tips to keep you ready for the tax issues that accompany marriage. First, the names and Social Security numbers on your tax return need to match your Social Security Administration records. Don't forget to submit a new Form W-4 to your employer. Also, if you and your honey plan to maintain a two-income household, know that the combination of you and your spouse's incomes will likely put you in a higher tax bracket. Consult Publication 505, Tax Withholding and Estimated Tax, for details. Update your address. This might seem like common sense, but it's easy to forget amidst all the wedding planning. And make sure your filing status is correct. For more information on tax issues for married couples, go to irs.gov. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Money Matters is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Money Matters is brought to you by Bancorp South, offering checking, savings, loans, credit cards, and wealth management. 5 locations in Jonesboro to serve you. www.bancorpsouth.com or 870-972-9800.
Attention members and guests. This is your girl, Sweet Angel, the red bone with a saxophone, coming to Legends Barbecue Smokehouse, Saturday, November 25th.
A night to remember, starring Sweet Angel and the S.A. Band, performing songs like Juking at the Hole in the Wall,
At the hole in the wall.
Can't Walk Away. Showtime, 8 p.m. Ticket and other information, Legends Barbecue Smokehouse, 870-530-3121.
The McDaniel Law Firm, 400 South Main Street in Jonesboro, is a firm believer in justice and equality for the minority community. The McDaniel Law Firm has fought for our rights for over 44 years. The McDaniel Law Firm offers legal help for wrongful death as well as trucking and automobile accidents. Bobby and Brett McDaniel are available for a free consultation at 870-336-4747 or at www.mcdaniellawyers.com.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. I almost missed my mark, but we're having such a great conversation off the air. But we're going to continue our conversation and wrap up some information that we've covered concerning occupational therapy. I wanted Dr. Wright to go into talking a little bit about, how can I phrase this? Well, helping the community at large, whether it's a business, organization, someone who has a private office, business, whatever the case may be, helping them be more aware, conscious, and making their places more accessible to individuals that have, say, disabilities. And it's not always about a physical disability. Again, you work with patients from all backgrounds with all types of issues that they need therapy for, occupational therapy for. So how do you think we can go about helping make some of these changes?
That's a really good question, and I think the first thing is to not judge everything from the external appearance. You don't know, a lot of people's, if you will, disability are what we call invisible disabilities. For example, we can't see pain. We can't see internal systems that are not doing well, so we don't always know from the outside what is happening to somebody maybe on the inside. Okay. So to be mindful and aware that when you see behaviors or things that you may not have recognized, that is just part of who that person is, and that we can make accommodations, if you will, for that, and to not make assumptions about what's going on with somebody. Only the person can really tell you how it affects their day-to-day life. And so if we have basically more universal, what we call universal accessibility, where just anybody who is here could access that. For example, you were talking about chairs on wheels. Yes. Or chairs with arms. For some people, those chairs like for older adults, those wheelchairs can be quite dangerous. Yes. They can lose their balance. Some people need the armrest to push up on, but others, the armrest impedes their ability to be comfortable in that environment. So you just I go to restaurants a lot, and I see it's really cool. You'll see at a restaurant with seats for 4, 2 have arms and 2 don't. Okay. So it's oh wow, okay, let's do a combination. Let's have the option that anybody then could sit there. Having tables that can move, if it's yes. Part of it's attached to a bench seat, and then the others, but they're movable so that it's accessible to everyone. And I have to say, it's hard for people if you've never had something that has impeded your daily life. It's hard to see that. Yes. But I tell you, the minute somebody does, they call on people like us to help work that out. So I think in general, society at large is starting to understand that word disable is kind of, it's hard. It's that even people with disabilities, they still want to engage in life. They just have to do it differently, and they do. All types of people need assistance in all kinds of ways, and I guarantee you everybody sometime in their life will need assistance. And so if we could just open our minds and think differently maybe about how we arrange our environments, and make it accessible for everyone. And again, the cost, bring in someone like an occupational therapist who's trained to look at the environment. That's another thing we do. We look at the environment and say, how do we make that accessible for that person? How do we redesign? We can work with architects and say, how do we redesign this space? How do we redesign your home bathroom? And it doesn't always have to cost a lot. That's the thing. If you bring in somebody on the front end, like an OT, that can work together with other professionals to say, okay, let's look at this from all sides, you can save yourself a lot of money.
As you were saying that, I just instantly started thinking about doctor's offices. Oftentimes you walk into a doctor's office, yes, there are some that are equipped to handle wheelchairs. The door frames are wide enough, or there's enough space around, where the doctor sits and the bed, the exam bed. But there are also times that it's not a lot of space at all.
Right.
And then also in doctor's offices, the little bed table is not accessible for everyone. Again, just because someone may be of a smaller size, they may have a disability or an elderly person, they can't always step up. The way they are designed, they may not can always step up on those things safely.
Exactly.
So I would love, from a personal perspective, I would love to see those exam tables either redesigned or more options offered for lower accessible tables.
Indeed, there are actually what we call high-low tables that you have a pedal that you can step on to lower the table or raise the table so that you can make it at the height, and then if you need to raise somebody up. So you're right, now that is a little more expensive, but it's doable if you're, if you're going to have clients that need a variety, because stepping up on a step stool is not, or a little step ladder is not safe for a lot of people. So, but even just having like the movable tables, I don't know, of course we're on a radio show so nobody can see me, but I'm currently sitting in a wheelchair. I use a wheelchair in the community in order to get around. And most of the time I can get everywhere I need to go. Because I'm an OT also, I can figure out how to make it work for me. But not everybody has that knowledge. So I still can walk, and I use a cane for short distances. But, going around campus, I have to say, shout out to ASTATE too, because there are a lot of accessible places there. They've done a really good job. I can get around campus and do what I need to do. But this changed my life. Having to use a chair for community distances has altered the way I live. And I have to change my daily schedule. And so... but people don't see that because that's an internal thing that I'm doing for myself. So I would just say, take a step back before you make a judgment and just say, how can I help you? And then let that person tell you how you can help them, rather than making assumptions about what to do. The person with the challenge certainly can usually say for themselves, hey, could you get a mat that can lower down? It's easier for me. Or can you get a ramp, even a temporary ramp, so that I can get into your establishment? Things like that,
I mean, there are small, minor things, and I'm sure this list will go on and on forever. And even making a surface slip resistant.
Yes.
So there's so many things that can be done. And I really hope to see more students out there helping to make those changes. And this is awesome.
Thank you.
So awesome. I do want to ask, as we wrap up, were you already in your profession when you had to start using your wheelchair?
I actually started having to use a wheelchair about 4 years ago. I have a fibromyalgia, so I have to use it for getting around. I was diagnosed 5 years ago, and I started using the chair for community distances because I was like, even sitting at a grocery store, I'd have to sit for a couple hours to wait for a cart. Now grocery stores have even more carts to use for people, but it was like having to delay and things. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but it has not stopped me from doing what I need to do and living the life I live and having the career. I've just had to change direction a little bit.
So would you give a lot of credit to already having the knowledge of how to operate through life?
Yes.
When this happened to you, did you face any of those moments, like, I don't know, kind of why, any anger or any type of, didn't want to deal with it, but because you had the knowledge of occupational therapy, you knew how to, suck it up. And
exactly. Fibromyalgia is a pain syndrome, and it's hard for people to see pain externally. So it's like, oh goodness, so people wonder why I'm in the chair or what's going on, and I was like, but I said, wow, I'm an OT. All right, how do I adapt? And I am grateful every day, actually, that I had that knowledge, because I have been able to make the changes in my life without a whole lot of extra assistance. But I will also say that I sought out the assistance when I was in Louisiana and other places so that I could maintain my life. And because I have that background and I'm willing to share that with anybody who's interested, I don't have all the answers, but I certainly can walk through with somebody and say, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Okay. And we'll see how it rolls. As I say, like to see how it rolls.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Christine Wright, for joining us, and thank you everyone for tuning in and listening. Please stay tuned. There might not be a show tomorrow. We'll see what's going on. And so
thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the